Hello and welcome to the Comedy Slab podcast. If you've not caught up with it before, and if you're a fan of it, I should say, really, you'll know it as the podcast. It's got two geezers chatting about a programme that they've watched recently and just chewing the cud. If you're an actor and it's something that we've slabbed of yours, then you probably know it as two mean-spirited people who just like to slag off other people's work. And boy, that's easy, isn't it? So it depends on your point of view, doesn't it, Adrian, really?
It does indeed. People can follow the Twitter feed. We won't mention any names or handles or... Well, it looks like you're about to, actually. I'm looking at you on Skype. But for legal reasons, let's not mention any names. But let's just say we're possibly not on someone's Christmas card list.
Let's just be like the girl from Frozen. Let's just let it go. Let it go.
I'm nearly going to have to sing.
That's, you can see, I haven't had to be subjected to that yet with the kids because I don't know her name. Is it Elsa from Frozen?
Do I look like the kind of guy with no children who is going to know the answer?
You're wearing the costume. I mean...
Yeah, but that's, I only go so far.
It's enough to put anybody off, isn't it, mate? A bit of a false impression. Can we mention... it's that time again, isn't it? Sad lost time. I saw your tweet in the week and it alerted me to the fact that Roy Hudd...
Oh, yes, these HUD lines we don't want to deliver, yeah.
Takes me right back, and I think I mentioned this before, so sorry if I'm boring everybody again, but for some reason, when I was in my younger days, in my youth, I ended up with I wish I'd have kept the thing. It was a gorgeous bit of furniture, and it sounded beautiful. This lovely radio stereogram, as they used to call them in those days.
Walnut whatnot.
And I used to have Radio 2 on. Was it Friday night? Was it Friday night comedy on Friday night? The news headlines. Was that when that was on?
How far back are we going? Was it 1500 on the long wave?
Oh,
or probably not that far back.
No. This would have been in FM because it was beautiful. I remember it used to sound so gorgeous, and I'd lie in bed in the dark, just at the glow of this beautiful. Like I say, it was a piece of furniture as well as a gorgeous sounding thing.
Yeah.
And I'd just be lying there, and you'd close your eyes, and it's like you're in the studio with them. It was just immense, and I've always had a real fondness for him. Then ever since that. When would that have been? That would have been about. I'm guessing I would have been 10 or over, so 76, 77.
Sorry, we 1876.
Oh, everyone's a comedian.
Oh, it's so easy, isn't it?
It's
to
just
trash your.
When you get to our age, it's so easy to just make fun of her. My wife suggested I should take up yoga earlier today.
Like it, you will. Oh no, sorry, that's Yoda.
Do you do yoga? You look like the kind of person that would do yoga.
I do Yoda. I do. Mm-hmm. I know you've got me down as a sort of liberal sandal wearing, ballerina tutu wearing. Guardian reading liberal.
Did you say lentil eating? I can't remember.
No, I didn't, but it's kind of implied, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, actually, I may have tried one yoga session.
Any good?
I quite like. Well, am I any good? No, after one session, I was still an amateur. But I quite like the atmosphere, with the candles. In fact, it touches on something we're putting on the Comedy Slab, does it not?
You shouldn't be touching on anything in the yoga class, mate. You're doing it wrong. Particularly, you should be 2 meters apart as well, whatever's happening. What?
Well, yes. What a week, eh?
I know. I do like all the Where's Wally jokes. They are quite good. The Where's Wally self-isolation special, where there's just a picture of Wally on his own. I quite like those.
I love the Brits' wit at times of crisis.
Yeah. Can I? Sorry, let me just spin back to yoga a second because I just want to and bear with us if you've joined for the comedy talk. Just a quick yoga talk because I just want to pick your brains because I haven't got the
bottle
confidence to go to a live. I was thinking of just like doing something like just going onto YouTube and typing in yoga for beginners and playing along with that. Could I just do that? Or did you go to a live class with the leotard?
I went to a live class, but leotard. I was going to say maybe that's what's holding you back.
The leotard. Oh my God, I don't know. I just thought you just strapped on your leotard and away you went. I thought that was it.
No, it's not that simple. You probably should do a bit of research on the YouTube before you go.
Maybe I don't think I can't see myself going to a class. I've too much self-esteem left.
I certainly don't want to see you go to a class myself.
No.
Don't, for goodness sake, put it on anti-social media.
I might just video myself going to following it on YouTube. Perhaps that's a better idea. And at the end, they go, and that's yoga.
No, they go, that's yoga, folks. But whatever you do, please don't put the outtakes on YouTube.
I think the intakes will be enough, to be honest with you.
Sharp intake of breath. Yeah. Anyway, should we slab a show before everyone loses interest or dies of old age?
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, shall I tell you what are we slabbing this week? We are looking at a Sky programme, which has run its course now, actually, hasn't it? I think it's just on it's just on the internet if you wanted to download it. I don't think you can get it on DVD. Which is a bit sad these days, isn't it? Because I know people used to collect them on, they collect the shows on DVD. I know I used to, but that doesn't seem to be as fashionable as it used to be. It's a Julia Davis vehicle. Very much her baby, written by her, directed by her. Her production company is involved in it. I mean, it is, it's got Julia Davis written right the way through, like a stick of Blackpool Rock. It's called Sally4Ever. And neither of us actually knew. We hadn't seen it, had we? I think I'd seen more than you. I saw the trail.
Yeah, I hadn't even seen that. I knew the title,
right,
knew of it,
but we knew very, very little other than that. Really,
just quick warning: if people are googling it, it's actually Sally, then the number 4. That tripped me up.
Oh, and it's all one word as well, isn't it? So it's
Sally4Ever, all one word.
Yeah, it's all
for the number
joined up. The story essentially is about a woman played by Catherine Shepherd, who I think this is the most I've ever seen Catherine Shepherd in. Actually, I've seen her in lots of other things because she's a very active supporting cast member for a lot of very decent comedy programs. If you look at her CV, but this is her in the starring role, or co-starring role, I should say. Catherine Shepherd. She's married to. I was going to say strange guy, played by Alex McQueen. We'll come to more of that in a little while, I'm sure. And she's not happy in that relationship, and she ends up meeting Julia Davis. That's the plot in a nutshell, as we know it so far. I think
we should point out at this stage it's for grown-ups, if such things exist.
It is, isn't it? Very, very grown-up.
Yeah,
I guess we'll come to more of that as well. So we've got 3 clips to play through the podcast to give you a flavour of the show itself. So we'll be launching the first one in a second. But before we do that, I've got to tell you what you think I thought that you thought of it the last time.
I thought this was going to get easier over time, but every week my heart sinks more quickly and lower.
Just imagine having to listen to this. That's what I worry for. The poor people who are having to go.
You have our sympathy, dear listeners. Yeah.
They've let their lawnmower go into next door's garden as a result of being so confused as to who's supposed to be guessing what at this stage of the proceeding. So I have a headline off you. Is that right?
Not yet.
Okay.
The other side of the clip. You might want to have a guess now.
God, we invented
I'm not
this.
going to tell you, am I?
I still can't get it.
Well, you invented it, mate.
Yeah. So hang on. So this side of the clip, I have to guess what you thought of it.
Yes.
I thought you quite liked it. I thought this is something you're very much like Julia Davis, and I think you love her. You do. No, sorry, I got to somebody else there. I think you liked it. I think it was okay. It was not setting the world on fire, but I think you liked it.
I'm going to push you to guess what I'm going to score at the end out of 5.
3. See, I'm really decisive when I want to be, aren't I?
Yeah, whether you're right, we'll find out much later.
Well, I don't know where that comes from, because none of my family are like that. But anyway, so yeah. So have I done all I need to do now? And then the other side of the clip, you'll give us a headline as to what you thought.
That's the idea. So all you need to do now, I say all you need to do, I seem to make it sound very difficult the weeks I do it, but just set up the clip for us.
Okay, easy this one. Right at near the top of the show as well. as I like to do, because very often you get a lot of information, at that point in the show. You're going to have to pay attention to this one, because there's a bit of a choir thing going on in the background of this clip. But I thought the conversation was too good to miss, because the script was it was too succinct and too realistic, I think, really, to miss this. So to set the scene, Sally, as I say, who is played by Catherine Shepherd, is at David, her just a boyfriend at this stage. David's played by Alex McQueen. She's at David's choir recital, and we also see Sally's dad, Alan, on the one side of her. He's just sat there kind of enjoying the music, and her mum, Pat, is on the other side of her, worrying, I guess, like all mothers do.
Oh, but I need some time.
Has he ever had hair on his head? Yes. Did he when you met him? Yeah. But he's got hair everywhere else. I don't want to know.
Well, it takes a strong man, baby, but I'm showing you the door. Because I gotta have faith, the faith, the faith. I gotta have faith, the faith, the faith. Because I gotta have faith, the faith, the faith. I gotta have faith, the faith, the faith.
Has he asked you to marry him? He has? Yes. What, and you said no?
Oh, black sheep, black sheep, black sheep,
You're not going to have that many chances.
any wool. I said if you any wool,
You've got a limited number of eggs.
yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Yes, I got 3 bags full.
They're dropping out every month. And they lose quality the older you get. And that's why I only had you. I would have loved to have had another stab at it. Thank you.
Black sheep.
I've given too much away, haven't I, on Skype?
So no, I didn't. Anyway, my attention was drawn away, and I was listening to see how difficult it was to hear that clip, actually. So I get apologies again with the singing of the bar, a whirly in the background there going and all that sort of stuff. So I missed it. So what were you doing? Were you grimacing or were you smiling?
Well, you're about to find out with my headline, are you not? The show, as we've discovered, is called Sally4Ever, all one word with the number 4. And I'm going for the headline, Sally forever and ever, amen, hallelujah.
Oh.
Woohoo! Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, it's a big one.
Oh, it's tickled my meters, I'll tell you that.
Has it really?
Oh, matron.
I didn't think that was allowed anymore. Just shows you, doesn't it, really?
I didn't think it was possible at my age.
No. That, I have to say, I thought of you because you do a bit of choiring from time to time. Is it anything like that?
Can I just say, when you use the word recital, I think that might put the wrong image in people's minds if they haven't watched the show. Recital, it's not quite that formal, but neither is it rock and roll, as I think we'll have heard.
You should see some of the recitals I've been to, mate, and that looks more formal than any of them. I tell you. Well, what would you call that then? Was it? I thought it was like a.
Well, it's sort of barbershop a cappella, isn't it? Unaccompanied singing.
Yeah, but it's a recital, isn't it? It's like it's not a gig, is it?
A recital is a woman with a cello.
Is it?
And glasses. Not to stereotype anyone.
And now on BBC 4, a woman with a cello and glasses.
Anyway, it's a bit tasteless to mention that because, of course, under the curfew that we're all under now, thanks to a certain crowned virus, my spring concert has been cancelled.
Oh, no.
Sadly. Yeah, I know. I was all primed, I was. I'd put in all the extra effort.
Oh, dear. I mean, there'll be a lot of music lovers pleased to hear that. But, I mean, other than that, it's
recital lovers.
We've turned into Morecambe and Wise here, haven't we?
Without the laughs.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's awful. Sorry about that. So your recitals are nothing like that, then? You don't.
I don't even call them. They're called concerts, love.
Oh, right. Okay.
Recital is a very refined thing. I'm not saying we're unrefined, but recital is usually a smaller scale thing. I mean, we're a powerhouse when we're allowed to perform of over 100 people on a good day.
My wife puts recitals on with her youngsters when she's teaching dance. They do dance recitals, which is distinct from a show. She's a dance show.
Okay.
As a dance recital is like a mini version of the show, really.
Well, I'm not here to besmirch your wife's performances.
And I don't want to get picky with you, but I've been to many of them, and they've never once had a woman with a cello and the glasses.
Well, that's why I wouldn't call them recitals. But hey, let's not get hung up on that. Before we get into trouble with the legal beagles, it is Sally4Ever, not my concert that's been cancelled. Sally4Ever is an HBO production in association with Sky, and this is where it gets more complicated. But I'm sure you're going to flesh this out, dear Shane. I thought when I looked at IMDb, it says various artists. I thought, oh, well, you should name them. But actually, that is a company name, Various Artists Limited, and Hush Ho.
Yes.
Are you going to illuminate us?
Well, Hush Ho is Julia Davis. Is we have to say is now, don't we? He's Julia Davis's company, and Various Artists actually is the production company of the legendary Jesse Armstrong and Sam Bain, of course, co-creators and writers of Peep Show, which we slabbed not so long ago.
Oh, wow.
And the In-Betweeners as well, I think they were responsible for, weren't they? And many, many other things. I mean, they are luminaries in the world of comedy, but I didn't realise they've got Various Artists, which is a great name for a company. I do kind of like that. I thought it was quite good, yeah. Alex McQueen, we were just talking just before we started, he, of course, was in the thick of it amongst, again, he's another one who's had so many supporting roles in major comedies. I must admit, anything easy generally, I'm a big fan of. But there was a wonderful scene, and I was going to try and grab it on YouTube before we started just to refresh my memory, when he was in the thick of it, and he's talking to Tucker, Malcolm
Tucker, yeah. Rhyming slang, no doubt.
And they're having a curry for some reason, and he's going, no, you see, the information is this onion bhaji. So I will see what I'm doing with this onion bhaji? I'm eating it. I'm eating the information. So the information is going no further because I've eaten the information. And it's just this whole scene, you just think, only Alex McQueen, he's just got this way about him. And he's true to form in this as well, isn't he, don't you think?
He's reassuringly bald, I'll give him that. Although that may be problematic later, because he's not really in the dark twilight world that is Julia Davis's mind. He's not a sympathetic character, and he's not really enough, shall we say, for Catherine Shepherd. But yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. As an actor, I mean, you absolutely believe what he's doing, which obviously is the craft of acting, but he is just so good at that. I've not seen him in loads of things, but just a sort of pedantic... I mean, he does things with a hairdryer that a bald man, in theory, should not need to do.
He shouldn't need to own one, should he, really?
No, he shouldn't. Or even borrow his wife's, or his wife-to-be. Or is she?
There is something nice about the hairdryer scenes, isn't there? Because you kind of think, because there is more than one through the episode, and you kind of think, what else is he going to do with it?
That's a reason for me now. It's only been announced as we record tonight that pubs, restaurants, and gyms are to be shut with immediate effect, I imagine, or in less, yeah. So I will never, well, not for the immediate future, thanks to a certain virus, I won't have to see a similar sort of sight of a bloke at my gym using a hairdresser for what I can only call antisocial purposes.
A hairdryer, you mean, not a hairdresser.
Did I say hairdresser?
Using a hairdresser for antisocial purposes. Which, of course...
that as well.
Which, of course, in Kent is an offence, isn't it?
I don't know. I think it's roundly encouraged in Kent.
I was going to say, whereas in Staffordshire, it's duly expected of most people.
I thought your end of the world was where they rattled the jewellery, but perhaps I've got it wrong.
Yeah. Oh, no jewellery rattling going on here. Sabre rattling maybe, but no jewellery rattling. Yeah. Cast, I mean, again...
to die for.
Fab, in it, really. I mean, when you've got the likes of Julian Barrett...
Oh, yes. Who we know from The Mighty Boosh.
The Mighty Boosh, yeah. And other things as well. Again, he's a very fine actor. And I've seen
him in posh straight stuff.
Yeah, well, I've seen him do sort of semi-straight stuff, and you kind of, I don't know why you end up being shocked, because I guess if you can do comedy, I mean, I've heard straight actors say that they think comedy acting is the hardest to master. So if you work it backwards, I mean, they should be able to, you know, if they're good comedy actors, they should be great straight actors, shouldn't they? Really?
Yeah.
But Felicity Montague's in there as well, who best known as her role as Lynn in I'm Alan Partridge.
Oh wow!
Stop going on about Benjamin Netanyahu, Lynn. You're never going to meet him. Do you know, I look back on Georgie Glenn as well, who plays the mother.
Oh, she's so deadpan, and utterly deadpan.
Again, do you know, I think the third thing she did on TV was with Harry Enfield for the Harry Enfield television show.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, she's, and I think the two things before that I think were straight, and then that was the first comedy thing that she did on TV was for Harry Enfield. And it was the third job she had on TV. And she's been on Partridge, she's been on Harry and Paul, she's worked on Little Britain. She's also done things like Poirot as well. So again, you know, a fine, accomplished straight actress as well. But yeah, I just thought that was quite interesting. Is that she's obviously, there's something that comedians see in her, and that, I mean, that scene kind of proves it, doesn't it? Really, as you say, because she does it straight down the line. Yeah.
I've just seen she was born on Argyll and Bute, which takes some doing if you think of the physicality of that.
But it must have been on the ferry, perhaps. I don't know.
Between the two.
Yeah.
Too much whiskey on her mother's part.
Yeah.
No, just joking. But there's not a hint of Scottish in her accent. But then I don't know if she came to England. Moved to London in her mid-20s. You thought. Anyway, obviously she's brilliant at accents as well.
Yeah. Should we have another clip? Because
high time.
There is something to say. Before you were talking about the hairdryer, and I was really
hairdresser.
The hairdresser or the hairdryer. Yeah, I was really torn. To when I was going to do the second clip, and I thought, shall we do the one where he's using the hairdryer on his feet? And it was essentially just the sound of a hairdryer and the sound of Alex McQueen. Loving it, I think, is the best way I can describe it.
That's a polite, family-friendly way, but we don't have to be too family-friendly since the show isn't.
I mean, it was orgasmic, wasn't it? His response to, and then he starts putting cream on his feet as well, and that was. And I was really torn as to whether they would like have a minute of him. And all those kind of. And I thought maybe not. Maybe you need to.
Maybe you can do it. Well, you just have.
Maybe you need to watch it. I don't know.
You had to be there.
Second clip. Then all right. So I've said we said that Sally is quite clearly not happy with David, her partner. Although having seen, as I say, David in action with the hairdryer and various other accoutrements. You kind of come down on the side of Sally with that one, don't you? Really, you think?
I think so. We're with her.
Yeah, I kind of understand where she's coming from there. But as a result of this, she kind of has a mad moment. She's met this woman, or she's seen this woman on the tube previous to this encounter, and then she saw her again, and she gave her a flyer to this club, and she'd obviously kind of had this flyer for the club and thought, shall I go? So she decides to go to the club to meet this mysterious woman, played by Julia Davis. The woman buys a beer in quite a cool way, doesn't she? Where she says, "Oh, can I have a beer?" And without really looking, she just takes the beer and slides it down the bar to Sally, and Sally tries to reciprocate, but not as successfully.
Sorry, do you mind not throwing beer at me? Are you thick?
Sorry.
I smell like a hot bat.
Don't worry about him. Don't be such an a-hole, Stephen.
No, that is.
Hey. Hi. I'm really glad you came.
Me too.
I kind of knew you would.
Really? How?
I just got a fifth sense for these things.
Well, I was just passing.
Yeah?
No.
Je m'appelle Emma.
Sorry?
Je m'appelle Emma. I'm part French.
Oh.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
Come on, let's go dancing.
Yeah, I'll come in a minute, sweet. I'm just talking to my sister.
Sister?
Yeah,
Sally.
Sally, yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to catch up with her, okay? I'll see you in a bit.
The guy who Sally managed to effectively splash beer over because she got the cool thing was not so cool, sliding another bottle of beer in reciprocation or attempted reciprocation down the bar. Of course, it shatters, and that's his voice you heard at the top there. Do you mind not spilling beer on me, or whatever he said?
Are you thick? He says.
Yes, I clearly am, because I couldn't remember the exact words.
Which obviously is a very direct way of saying it, but go on, yes.
Yes. That's how you talk in the Midlands, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, are you thick? Yeah, that is a Midlands phrase, definitely.
Whereas in the South, we say, "Are you a fellow member of Mensa?" Anyway, never mind. He wears a blonde wig, like you do. He's in a double act, oh my God, with the Julia Davis character. And it's only, you possibly, if you're a regular listener, you'll know we dissect for our own research purposes, whatever we're putting on the Comedy Slab, we look at or listen to not once but twice. Only on the second time did I hear some of the lyrics. Did you pick up on them?
No, I didn't. No.
In this double act. Well, one of the lines he sings is, "I want to play you like a deep bassoon." Forget women with cellos and glasses. That's to die for. I'm just fabulous lines everywhere you look, so quotable, and it needs a third and a fourth viewing. The only thing is, and I'm going to shock you now, I'm not going to say I like cheese.
I like cheese.
I've got to be a complete Aryan on this, a serialist.
Oh wow!
Usually I only watch the one, but it could get quite expensive because it's Prime Video, isn't it?
It's on Amazon, yeah, Amazon Prime, yeah.
Amazon Prime.
I mean, it's not that expensive, really. I suppose if you take into account, like back in the day, you would have bought a DVD and it, they haven't got the cost of all the packaging and sending it out and all the rest of it, have they? I suppose, really. So rightly so, a bit cheaper. Did you notice who the guy was, by the way? Did you notice who was playing the fella?
Oh, I hadn't even got that far. I feel I've just skimmed the surface. It's so good.
It was Jamie Demetriou. Steph Let's Flats, yeah.
He's one talented dude, isn't he? And he was, what was his credit in Fleabag?
Oh,
Rat
Face, was it? Or rat
Face on the bus or something.
Rat Boy or Rat Face, something like that, yeah.
Just because he had these teeth.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And then, of course, we slabbed him in Stath Let's Flats, the unpronounceable Channel 4 comedy. Yeah.
I always think it's a sign of a good actor, isn't it, when you go, "Oh no, was that him? I didn't recognise him."
He just totally melded into the part, as you should. But also, he's got this dark stubble, which is unnerving with a blonde wig.
Yeah, it was all a bit weird, wasn't it? Really. I haven't actually said, but I didn't like it really.
Oh no, I didn't let you speak. No, tell me you're joking.
No, I really came away disappointed. I think I was expecting too much of like a Nighty Night kind of thing.
I don't think it's so far off.
It was, to me, it had more darkness than comedy.
And Nighty Night was, I'd say, possibly over 50% darkness if you actually scratch below the surface.
Yeah, I think the difference is, though, for me, that the comedy was laugh out loud, where it wasn't. I mean, I didn't like any of the characters. I think was a difficult thing here as well.
Right.
I couldn't kind of get a foothold in it, if you know what I mean. I couldn't get anything. Like, I'm thinking, I was really confused as to because it was quite painful to watch Alex McQueen's character. It was quite frustrating to watch Sally trying to figure it all out. It was quite annoying trying to watch Julia Davis's character. I couldn't get a foothold in anybody and think, well, which camp am I in? Where am I? Where do I feel here? And
did you, just by extension, although obviously it's Sally in the title, is that another way of saying the focus was split and she wouldn't? If you had to name the show yourself, perhaps she wouldn't emerge for you as an obvious central character? Was that?
I don't know whether we're suffering from one episode syndrome where you're expecting Julia Davis in this instance to sit down and to write a full and complete account of the characters in the first episode.
Which, of course, you shouldn't. A good show wouldn't do.
Exactly. And so, how her character, for example, evolves, or even how Sally, the lead character, evolves. I think it's one of those that you would have to watch certainly more than one episode, and that's how I felt. I came away from it. I felt torn because on the one hand, I kind of felt like I didn't want to watch the whole series because I kind of time hung very heavy for me while I was watching it, but in another way, I wanted some kind of resolution. I wanted to figure out that at least I kind of felt that I knew who the characters were.
Right.
And I thought the first 10-15 minutes, I thought the comedy was there. And then after that, they were using devices that really slowed it down. Like, there was this sort of elongated scene where everything is in slow-mo. Was it on the tube when they were looking at each other on the tube and everything kind of it was in the club, wasn't it, when they were dancing?
I think it implies they might have taken substances.
Yeah, but it was like kind of, and it just really slowed. But then they did it again. Then there was like a sex scene, between the two, which is what I thought was more Benny Hill.
You shouldn't laugh at a sex scene, should you? But it's the Julia Davis parallel multiverse.
It was very Benny Hill, wasn't it? It was like kind of like pulling faces and
boobs
the
bouncing
comedic against each other. And
we have to say they were breast doubles, if that phrase means anything to anyone.
Were they?
Well, you never saw their faces with the. That reminds me, actually, this week, can I just say?
I've had a few girlfriends like that, though, to be honest with
you. My cleaner. Now you're going to wonder where this is going.
What's he going to say?
Here we go. My cleaner.
Take your headphones off, listeners, please.
Prepare to fast forward.
Oh, we've done how many have we done? This is the 87th, and we've never had to put a restricted on any of them until now. Oh, here we go. Confessions of a cleaner. Go on.
Anyway, here we go. Actually, she's one of a pair, if I can use that.
Oh, my God.
But look, under the present lockdown, she wanted to know, did I still want her to... Can I do you now, sir? Kind of thing.
She's sleeping under the stairs.
I just bring her out on a Thursday morning. Anyway, she texted me, did I want her to come round? Because she knew I might be at home. Because she knows I'm a lazy... No, because I do WFH, which sounds rude, but is working from home.
Right.
Under the present circumstances. And then she added in her text, it's all right, I'll be wearing gland aprons. I thought, woof, woof.
It's touching my gland.
I Googled gland aprons. And I went to websites, no decent human being should see.
I've got to tell you, I ran out the house faster than I ever done before and forgot to lock the front door.
And I thought, what's a bit of dust between friends if it means I don't have to look at her gland aprons? And then she texts back. I've lost it now. She texts back. Oh, sorry, that was a typo. I meant to write, I'll be wearing gloves and aprons. Oh, my giddy aunt. Anyway.
Oh, dear.
Oh, you can cut that out if it's, offence. Oh, I'm going to have to dab my eyes. Anyway, we were talking about glands, weren't we?
Oh, dear. What he was saying is the trouble with his cleaner, you never see her face and the glands at the same time.
That's where we came in. Shall we swiftly move to the third and final audio clip? I've lost it.
Oh,
I've gone.
Dear.
Oh, dear. Oh, I can't see through the tears.
The third clip, the final clip then. Listen to this while we try and compose ourselves. Sally and David, their relationship is deteriorating fast, isn't it? And they
bit like ours.
They meet up in a cafe.
I'm so sorry. I'm so confused.
Look, we're not breaking up.
I don't know.
Sally, we're getting married. I got my hat this morning from Amazon.
I'm so sorry.
Do you still love me?
Of course I still love you. I'm just not attracted to you anymore.
Since when?
Maybe the last 7 years. It's like with you, I just felt like I had no libido left. With this woman, it's like she understands my body.
Who does stuff?
Oh, just bits and bobs.
There's a touch of the Norman Bates going on with him and his deceased mother, isn't there, really? Psycho, Hitchcockian.
Yeah. He's got a wedding dress, hasn't he? His mother's wedding dress.
Yeah, it's got some stains from her.
She got directed
Starting off again. and Sally says, which gland? Sorry, folks. Oh dear, I was just getting better there for a moment.
Yeah.
I knew there was more than one reference to glands.
She should have worn a gland apron, shouldn't she?
Definitely don't. You wouldn't let it lie.
Wouldn't have got on the dress, would it then? Oh dear. Yeah,
dear.
there is, like I said, he was a very uncomfortable character to watch in the latter stages, wasn't he? Really.
Well, it's painful, but all good comedy has an undertow of tragedy, doesn't it? I mean, we're not the first people to say that.
No, but I mean, it was a step beyond tragedy, wasn't it? Really, he was.
It cranked it up, yeah.
Do you know, the interesting thing is, I mean, that clip is is almost at the end, and you kind of, in most comedies, you'd be saying actually that's there's sorry about the spoiler. But in actual fact, there isn't a resolution at the end, is it? It's almost like a setup for the next episode.
Is that not what episode 1s are meant to do?
I think, no, I'm not criticising it for it. I'm saying I think it's quite astute that rather than going right there you go, lay all the cards on the table, and hopefully you might come back for episode 2. You kind of you despite the fact that I didn't enjoy it that much, I did kind of walk away thinking, I do really need to know what happens next.
Well, you're a serialist anyway, aren't you? You have to watch every episode.
Yeah.
So will you be watching every episode?
I'll watch as many as I can. I think is probably the best answer to that. Really, is that, and I kind of have sort of a feeling of trepidation as I do it. Really, and I don't really know why. I mean, I can't. I really like Julia Davis. I really like the rest of the cast. I think on paper the cast is stellar. I mean. You mentioned earlier on from the Mighty Boosh, Julian Barrett, and again, I could watch him sitting reading the phone book out. He's I think he's just a fabulous actor. Felicity Montague, the same. Catherine Shepherd, who I mentioned, I've never really seen her in anything of any her part, and was spellbound by how great an actress. I mean, with her face, there's
the transformation, and hats off to the makeup designer. We don't usually credit them, but what a transformation from this sort of dowdy, mousy, brown-haired. She's not yet married to this David, but yeah, I mean, it was writ large, but beautifully played, and what a beautiful woman. I mean, gosh, I know I'm only a closet heterosexual, but Julia Davis as well. They've both got cheekbones. As a friend of mine says, cheekbones you could shave Parmesan on.
But if you did...
I'm not sure you should.
If you did, they get an injunction. I mean, well, you can't win, can you?
They'd literally kick up a stink.
Even if you brought your own cheese.
Don't.
But the other thing about Catherine Shepherd's face,
down.
I thought, was like when she was playing off... when she's playing opposite Alex McQueen and he's doing all the disgusting stuff... And he kept cutting back to her facial expressions, and I just thought, she just portrayed all of the emotions with like a look.
Oh yeah, it's so subtle.
And I really like watching those scenes again. Yeah, because I just thought, wow, she's got it. She really has.
And when they were intercutting the love making, spoiler alert, with her and sorry, what's the Julia Davis's character again? died?
Do you know what? I'm just trying to think of Emma, isn't
Originally,
it? Emma,
thank you. Because originally I thought, when I heard about the show, I thought Julia Davis was going to be the Sally. That would be the natural.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
That's just what they want you to think. Anyway, yeah, so she plays Emma. Anyway, the intercutting between... the lovemaking between those two... and whether or not it's their glands doesn't matter right now. And then but the intercutting with him doing funny things with a hairdryer, which, you know, they're going to win an award, definitely. It reminded me of a certain film, but not as sexy as this film. It's a classic one. Is it Don't Look Now, with Julie Christie and what's his name, early 70s film?
I don't know.
There's an intercutting between a lovemaking scene and then they head out fully clothed, funnily enough, to heading out for the evening or whatever they are. But
right.
It's always mentioned by people who know these things as being a sort of, if I can use the term, a seminal moment in British cinema. Can I just say, I didn't meet Julia Davis, but I was in a coffee republic in the West End, where she was once. I was working at Channel 5 at the time as an announcer, doing those fascinating, witty lines over the closing credits of The Bold and the Beautiful. Yeah. The service I've given this country, you know, frankly, it's you know, I'm still waiting for the knighthood. Anyway, so I go out for a coffee break at one point, and there is the wonderful Julia Davis. Now, this is over 10 years ago. This is more like 15 years ago. So imagine she hasn't done Nighty Night by then. And I so wanted to go up to her, but I would have just been one of those sort of weak-kneed, drooly fan types. What I'd seen her in up to that point, which we haven't touched on in this slab, is the Armando Iannucci stuff.
Oh, okay.
We mentioned Jam the other week. She was in that.
I think the first time I became aware of her properly was, and it's a callback to last week's comedy slab, The Trip, with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. She did a wonderful, and if you've ever seen it, a wonderful series of 6 for Baby Cow called Human Remains.
I know of it. I never actually saw any of those.
And that's one we've got to put on the slab one of the times.
You must do.
But her and Rob Brydon play a couple, but a different couple in each episode, and they spark beautifully off each other. I mean, there is no question, you know, about it really. That I was reading an interview with Julia Davis, and what I didn't realise was, and I thought, no, you don't actually realise this at all. She made camping before this, and probably a couple of other things in between. And in between camping and making this, both of her parents died of cancer. Oh, no. And you kind of, you know, you realise then what that profession is all about, don't you? Is, you know, about not only is it make believe, but it's also putting your own self on hold, as it were, to you know, to do whatever you're doing. But
or sometimes if you're able to absorb it and use it, then that's another way.
Yeah.
Not easy. But actually, I'm not saying anything that hasn't been out there already. It's in the public domain. I read an interview with Julia Davis just before we get to the scores on the doors, and it's heartbreaking. She quotes one of her children saying to her, "Are you still having those suicide thoughts, Mummy?" I mean, God, what a phrase, and it's got particular resonance for me. And you think, wow, you're in the business of making people laugh, and yet you're carrying this pain around. But it's two sides of the same coin. I'm always quoting Johnny Spate on that.
Yeah, and I think, do you know, the other thing is as well, and I think that people don't realise this, that a lot of people will use comedy to ease their own darkness. You know, and you know, I've known of that before as well. So. You know, if people are in a mood, you can use. I mean, I've done it. I must admit, I've done, you know, but comedy that you know, that you almost know every line to, because there's a comfort there as well, isn't there? Then not only are you adding the dimension of it's lightning in itself, but there's also a comfort to it as well, which is amazing. Yeah, I feel like I've let the side down this time round again because...
Sorry, I was going to say, I've got a theory as to why, because you said just a bit earlier, I don't know why I don't like it more. It's obviously, it's got, for you, it's not adding up to the sum of its parts with a great cast and all of that. How about this for a theory? I'm a separated man and you're what I trust and believe to be a happy family man, father to two. I don't want to betray any confidences, but I do occasionally see you with your lady wife just before we set up, and I don't believe you're performing for me, if I can use that phrase. I'm making it sound more spooky than it is. I mean, what I see is it looks like a sort of healthy, very warm, tender. So is there something there that you can't quite relate to this utter? I mean, you feel the ache of Sally. She hasn't got what she wants with this guy.
I did like there was a wonderful line that Alex McQueen had, and when he asked Sally to marry him, and he said, "Oh, go on." He said, "You're too old now. You're not going to meet anyone else." Which I thought, what a wonderful way to entice somebody to spend the rest of your life with them. It's
like, hard sell, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. I did feel. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I checked, as I often do, because I think, am I the weirdo here in the room? Yes, possibly I am. Sometimes.
I wasn't going to say it.
I checked on Internet Movie Database just to see what the user reviews were like, and then they're not great. There's a hardcore of Julia Davis fans who, are saying, "Oh, it's fantastic," whatever.
It's a bit Marmite. Are the scores Marmite?
It is very, very binary. Yeah. It's either off or on. Yeah. And some of the comments were that the characters were a bit too unbelievable. They're a bit too over the top, which I can kind of... It didn't trouble me that much, but I can kind of get it as well, and I kind of see that they are drawn quite large. But again, looking at... I kind of get the impression that people haven't watched the whole series. They've just watched an episode or two. And I can understand why they draw that conclusion. But also, I do get the sense that it is trying to be provocative. It is trying to shock. And I always kind of go into a defensive mode where I think, am I being played here? Do you know what I mean? Am I just being used because that it's trying to be... I did feel that it was trying to be shocking. And I don't think it needed to be. I just wanted it to be more funny.
I've got the feeling that she is effortlessly shocking, that she doesn't know how to not shock. I've never seen her in anything, quotes, ordinary. I would call her, she's sort of an antimatter Olivia Colman. She is a dark national treasure, a DNT, if you will.
Although, interesting enough, in an interview, she kind of got all feminist about, somebody said, how do you come up with these dark thoughts? And she responded, well, it's that because I'm a woman. And I think, no, I mean, as a person who's interviewed a lot of people in my career, that's a question that I would ask, and without any kind of reference to sexuality, to gender at all, would be, where do you come up with it? Where do you come up with this darkness? Because you're probing to see, is that there all the while, or? But yeah, so because I thought exactly the same. It is exceptionally dark. But the difference between this and Nighty Night is that Nighty Night was exceptionally dark, but it was exceptionally funny. And from what I've seen in this first episode, I think we didn't meet both of those criteria, which was sad. But yeah, I think maybe it's all a trick that now I've got to go off and I've got to watch episode 2.
I think I'm going to make you into a serialist, because she's making me into a serialist and not a Unitarian who just watches one episode.
Yeah.
I have to say, from the first viewing, I was laughing out loud, and then the second viewing, more laughter out loud at different points.
Yeah.
So, she's won me over. It must be time for the scores then.
Yeah.
Who's going first? Halt, who goes there?
Shall I go first?
Yeah, go on then.
I never know who's supposed to or who doesn't or whatever.
I think you were projecting onto me what you're about to score. No, you might be even lower. It's going to be 2.5, isn't it? Don't change it for me, love.
No, it's a 2 for me.
Two for me. Everyone's got it.
2 for me. Yeah, two for one. No, it's a 2, I'm afraid. And like I say, it gives me no pleasure which is why I gave it a 2.
It gives me great pleasure to get. You haven't asked yet, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
4 you'll
I'm going to give it a whopping 4.5. It is
My
fantastic.
life. Well,
Thereby proving it's a Marmite show between the two of us.
Yeah.
The only reason it's not 5 out of 5 is she's not very kind to bald men who floss. And as a bald man who flosses, I take deep offence to being persecuted through the visual medium. But I mean, fabulous.
Do you know? I think as well. She's not very kind to men at all. in this, which is another difference from 99.
Is it because she's a woman?
Do you know what I mean? It's interesting, isn't it? And I'm not one of these people. I mean, it doesn't really bother me one way or the other. It's a work of fiction. So at the end of the day, but all of the men had, even Julian Barrett.
I was going to say, I thought he was an exception.
No, because he was very weak. Because he quite obviously likes Catherine Shepard's character. He quite likes Sally, doesn't he? But he's too weak to actually do anything about it. And he's kind of shut up shop because he's been in a bad relationship. So even he was
lovely phrases.
Even he was, I thought, was portrayed as a weak individual. All of the men were portrayed as oafish or buffoons or ineffectual, which I thought was quite interesting. But like I say, it doesn't bother me one way or the other because it's a work of fiction, but again,
much?
A difference from 99. 99 wasn't like that. They were. I think that was an equal opportunity offender.
Well, we're not to agree on this. So what's that? 6.5 out of 10.
6.5 out of 10.
You rotter! You really brought down the score. I was hoping we were going to nudge 9 at least.
I'm like I say, I'll watch episode 2 and
yeah, you better have.
And I'll report back, Captain.
Yeah. Okay, well, so you want some homework for next week. Now, here's an interesting one. I'm looking forward to this. So there's an element of jeopardy with this one because, maybe you have seen it. I certainly haven't. I've read about it in Broadcast magazine, the fabulous industry must-have Bible. And they had an article on it, and it's what I'm fascinated by is it's certainly being billed as part reality TV meets comedy, it presents itself. Can you stop shaving with a letter knife, please,
Sorry.
Mr. O'Connor? It's putting me off. You'll be drying your nethers next. Anyway, so that I think is fascinating. It's not gender bending, but genre blending or bending, and it's on Dave. I don't suppose you've worked out what it is yet. I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with Dave's schedules.
I try and avoid it wherever I can, but is this? See, this is what I would class as a panel show, if it's the one I'm thinking of.
No, I wouldn't. I'm very hesitant to put any panel show before you. It is not that. Here's a big clue. It's a husband and wife who are really husband and wife, hence the reality TV
Oh, I've got
element.
it, yeah.
And they're both comedians. I don't know her so much, I don't think, but I know him.
Yeah, he's John Richardson, isn't he?
He is, and it is Meet the Richardsons.
Oh, okay.
On Dave. And Dave has a free app, so if you struggle to
I've started watching telly like that, now. I'm a big fan of, outside of comedy, I'm a big fan of true crime.
Right.
And only last night, I was watching something on the iPad on an app called Dplay, which...
that sounds kinky.
It covers TV shows, or TV channels, I should say, like Quest. Have you ever seen Quest?
I know of it.
They do, and
I always
Quest...
confuse it with Quorn, but that's got more protein in it.
I think that little bit, slightly more, not much. Quest and Quest Red, and anyway, so they put all these...
Quest Red sounds dodgy to me. Maybe it's my mind.
It's like Quest, but the announcer wears a basque and suspenders, I think. It's exactly the same programme.
It worries me, Anyway, what I haven't said is which episode. It's the one as we speak that's most recently gone out or is about to go out. Series 1, Episode 4. Series 1, Episode 4, on Dave of Meet the Richardsons. I hope we both enjoy.
Well, it'd be interesting because I've seen the trailer, and as a result of seeing the trailer, thought I must miss that.
Oh no. Don't queer the pitch. I thought you were going to say, having seen the trailer, you want to see the vehicle.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Comedy.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I'm giving anything away because I've not seen it, so I don't know. I might absolutely think it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. But
in which case, they ought to get a new Trails producer, didn't they? Really?
Well, I'll
selling it.
Yeah, I'll let them know. I'll let them know whether we'll see. So yeah, okay. Meet the Richardsons, Series 1, Episode 4. I'm looking forward to it now because you're forcing me to to do something that I wouldn't ordinarily do. So okay.
That could be a whole other alley to go down, but fortunately we've run out of time, except to say on anti-social media we are at Comedy Slab. There's also a Facebook page at Comedy Slab. Give us a huge thumbs up on that. And also follow us on Twitter. We do, it's quality over quantity, but some good stuff out there. And unfortunately, in the case of, the occasional obituary we must pass on, we link you to that, as with poor... Mr. Hutt, who left us last week. Now, I also want to encourage you both to, because let's face it, in the UK and around the world at the moment, we've all got a bit more time on our much sanitised, overwashed hands. So one thing you could do is go back to our back catalogue, another 86 shows to read, mark, learn, enjoy, and write essays about. But would you also please give us a nice, big, generous... multi-star review on iTunes / Apple Podcasts. It's not just to puff up our egos. It really helps the show get promoted because we don't have a promotional budget.
And we budget, do we really?
Well, yeah, full stop.
Yeah. We've got a budgie, but we're down easy asleep by this time.
Oh,
so yeah.
Put the blanket over him, but you're meant to put the blanket over the cage, not over the actual bird.
Which is why he always has that asthma now, isn't it? It's a bit of a problem, but it does. It helps us out immensely. It helps the show immensely. So if you want to do a good deed, I mean, you don't even have to write something nice if you don't want to. You can just click on the stars.
They don't need any encouraging to not write something nice.
No. But I mean, some people don't like doing that kind of thing, do they? And you think, well, if you could just go along and give us a click, that'd be lovely as well. We'd really appreciate it because there's an anonymity to that, isn't there? Really. Don't forget, if you want to, as Adrian said, this is episode 87. As we head into 88 next time round. If you want to catch up with any of those, we're at all your favourite podcast catching sites like Spotify right the way through to Spreaker, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts and iHeart Radio as well.
It just remains for me to tie up my gland apron again and sashay off into the night.
And for me, I'm going to be looking on Google and seeing, as a result of this podcast, how many times people have Google searched for gland apron. That's gland apron.